Hello. In Italy, there are over 20 towns with Cyclopean walls that stretch for miles and miles in a 3D puzzle of a million pieces. From Terni to Circeo, the Cyclopean walls in Italy are quite consistent, both in their regional spread, being located in around 2 hours from Rome, and also in their finishing aspect or construction style, which is similar across Italy and somewhat different from what we can find nearby, like in Albania. The dating on these walls, however, is very inconsistent, ranging from Circeo, said to be from the 12th century BC, to Cosa in the 4th, and for no stronger reason other than the lack of written references. That's because historians often date buildings considering the first textual source to it, and in this region it usually means early Roman, considering the older Italic tribes were not big fans of writing. So, in there lies the problem. Of all the miles and miles of Cyclopean walls spread onto Italy, almost all of them are blank. No writing, no words, no signs, no decorations, no nothing. The walls are completely mute in all those places, except for 3 notable stones. Of the million polygonal stones reaching us from deep in the past, only 3 stones have something else to say. Just these 3 stones, each located in a different city, have some sort of a sign into it. And guess what? It's the carving of a phallus. Yep. A FU is the only thing the monocular builders cared to say to us. Not judging on the intention, there's a clear consistency in the message, which is unexpected considering that these 3 stones are located quite apart from each other in cities that have their own different stories. One is in Terni, to the north, in Umbria, a region that for long evaded the hard hand of their 2 neighbors, the Etruscans and the Romans. The second stone with buff carvings can be found in a countryside villa in the region of Sabina, another Italic tribe. Then, the third one is in Alatri, in the region of Lazio, the most important Cyclopean city in Italy, where we can find a gorgeous acropolis with niches and an astrological clock, and the third and final carved phallus. Even if we are more prude these days, one has to recognize that these knobs were important to the people building it. They went to all that trouble, building all those long walls, and then the only time they expressed themselves with a message, it was this. It had to mean something, right? Even more, for being one important carving, with only 3 of them in about 1 million stones and flashing the same design, it's fair to assume that the people scratching it will have to be the same, with similar culture. And that's where the story gets sketchy. The earlier time these 3 cities were under one similar culture was deep into the Bronze Age, before the arrival of the Latins. However, these constructions are dated from the Iron Age, when the Romans were already around and kicking. Plus, we know the Romans did not build polygonal masonry. It's ironic that Rome sits at the center of this hub for Cyclopean walls, but has none of it, and that the Romans did not build with Cyclopean masonry in any other part of their Western Empire. Cyclopean walls are thus pre-Roman, and for that pre-Latin, from the Bronze Age. But of the 20-odd polygonal sites in Italy, only a couple, Circeo and Pirgi, are said to be dated from the Bronze Age, with all the others being dated 5 to 10 centuries later. A bit of context on these heavy metal eras that could come in handy. The Bronze Age and the Iron Age are roughly associated with the 2nd and the 1st millennium BC, with a gap in the middle, sometimes called the Sea People's Collapse or the Greek Dark Ages, when a series of vicious wars and unrest shuffled populations around. One of their movers were the Romans, who, by their own account, arrived in Italy during that hot period, coming from the east, from fallen Troy, or so they say. Also, by the Roman account, the Cyclopean cities in Latium were Saturnian, built by the fallen god Saturn, that had left Greece for Italy many centuries before the fall of Troy and the Romans' arrival. This super old wave of Greek immigrants to Italy can also be referred to as Pelasgian, a term preferred by the classic Greek historians. So, let's try and make a list of all this. There are 24 Cyclopean sites around Rome, all of them sharing a similar architectural style, of which 3 of them feature the unwide wheelie carving. These 20 sites are said to be mostly dated from the Iron Age, thus the people building it varied, with the Umbrian, Samnites, Sabines, Latins, Etruscans and even Romans following the expansion of the Roman Empire in that period. And then there are 2 sites that are even older, from the Bronze Age. Here's a list. Pirgi and Circeo are located in older Lazio, the first area occupied by the Latins, thus is said to be Pelasgian. Alatri, as other 5 cities located in New Lazio, a second area occupied by the Latins, were named Saturnian, which could mean the same as Pelasgian. Orbetello is Etruscan, another people that arrived in Italy during those Greek Dark Ages. Pietrabondante, Cesi, Amelia are Italic, and from different tribes that avoided the Roman might until the end of the Iron Age. Cosa and Alba Fusians are even said to be later, thus Roman. That's a spread of 1,000 years after Troy, and double that since the arrival of Saturn. Enough confusion, let's make sense of this. We all can see these stones are pretty similar. They all look and feel the same, so they should all be from the same era and culture. If some site is said to be older, then this means that all the other sites should be from that older age too, with continuous occupation and several alterations, but the same Cyclopean element, and that means it's not just Pirgi or Circeo that are from the Bronze Age. Especially when considering the 3 kinky stones. These carvings are loud. They came from the same culture, and to account for that we have to send their origin back a full millennia, to the time of Saturn. To settle this timeline, in the next video we'll drop an eye onto Saturn, also called Kronos, the Greek god of time, that introduced agriculture into Italy, and is quite a character. Please like and subscribe. See you soon!